Hi, I'm Janelle Slade. Well, a Billings church is now working with the FBI and local authorities after its Zoom worship service was hacked this past week, airing graphic images. In a Facebook post, church leaders from Billings First Congregational Church at 310 North 27th say their congregation, quote, watched in horror as our Zoom worship service was overtaken this past week by someone with incredibly evil intent. Now, the post goes on to say that the hijacker broadcast a criminal act against a child. This type of act is being called a Zoom bombing. Now, it also goes on to say that as a congregation that values strong boundaries, as a display our love and health, this could not have gone deeper to the heart of who we are. The post also states that it will now have a radical change for its worship presentation during the pandemic. Now, the post says Reverend Mark Stewart swiftly moved to call the FBI and file a missing child report. We are following the story and will bring you the very latest updates. Well, Montana's restaurants, bars, and casinos are officially open today. It's another major step toward healing the economy and returning to normal. Well, of course, it will be anything but normal at first for our local establishments. Letters like this one sent to Guido's Pizza in Billings show the business is following the required guidelines laid out in Phase 1 of the governor's reopening plan. All businesses are only allowed 50% of their capacity, and they must continue to enforce 6 feet of distance at all times. Customers must leave the establishment by 11:30 at night. As hopeful customers come back inside today, local restaurant owners ask everyone to keep themselves safe, saying they can't afford another shutdown. And we are told many local restaurants are hiring as well. Well, in Red Lodge, the city is open today. Leaders say extra precautions will be taken for staff and customers. Limited people will be allowed in the building at a time, and a face mask or face covering of some sort will be required. Red Lodge city leaders say residents are encouraged to continue using the drop box or mail-in items whenever possible. Also today, 100 U.S. senators will return to the nation's capital as the Senate reopens. The House will stay closed as Washington remains a coronavirus hotspot. Senators will gather for the first time since March. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says lawmakers need to stand together for the American people and will keep a 6-foot distance. Well, among the list of businesses becoming fully operational today, optometry and dentistry offices. For weeks, non-essential healthcare services have been in the same boat as businesses like restaurants and retail shops. Appointments like routine physicals, eye exams, and dental cleanings have been put on hold due to guidance from the CDC. One Missoula optometry office, Lebsock Eye Care, shut down since March 20th, was only seeing patients for emergency appointments. Well, as employees get back into the swing of things, like all other businesses, they will cut back on appointments and take extra precautions.
On an average day, we typically see about 3 patients an hour, so 15 to 20 patients a day between both Jeff and myself. And the first week, we're going to start out with 1 patient per hour for both of us. So we're going to be going from 15 patients a day to about 5, 6, maybe 7 a day, depending on what the type of exam is. So we'll be slow, but we're fortunate to be able to get back to work in an essential way.
It's now time to check in on the statewide weather scene. Happy Monday, Ed McIntosh.
Well, thank you, Janelle, because it wasn't always so pleasant Sunday in portions of the state. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what was going on. We did have a strong system that moved across the region, and we'll show you that loop as it comes across. So as things cleared out here this morning, yesterday, you can see that line where we had a lot of lightning. Those were the blue and silver flickers, but also some areas of heavier rain, some gusty winds, and some hail that came in along with that as well. Here's what happened in portions of the region. Saw wind gusts, that's all in the red shaded areas where gusts hit 50, 60 miles an hour in some spots, and hail up to golf ball sized down in southeastern Montana. Take a closer look at the week's outlook in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Ed. Well, here in Montana, the state reports 2 new confirmed coronavirus cases, one in Cascade County, the other in Yellowstone County. Now, the Cascade County case involves a man in his 40s. The Yellowstone County case is a man in his 20s. The state total number of cases now sits at 457. The number of COVID-19 related deaths in the state remains at 16. A total of 404 people have recovered and 6 are currently in the hospital. Wyoming, on the other hand, added 7 new coronavirus cases yesterday, bringing the total number of people with active COVID-19 to 37. 5 of the new cases were in Fremont County. The other 2 were down in Laramie. Bighorn County has 1 active case of COVID-19. According to the latest numbers, Sheridan and Park counties do not have any residents with the virus. Well, the coronavirus pandemic is changing where Americans eat. A group of farmers in Colorado say with many restaurants and schools shuttered, half their milk market has disappeared. They're turning to the difficult situation into a very positive one and donating the extra product to food banks across the country. In late April alone, Colorado dairy farmers donated more than 20,000 gallons of milk. Well, as residents grapple with the harsh economic impacts of coronavirus, the Great Falls Community Food Bank is seeing something different. The staff thought it would be the hardest hit month, but as it turns out, sometimes difficult times make it easier to give. Well, there's usually a decline in donations this time of year. However, during the month of April, the shelter took in more than any other April in history and possibly more than any other month at any time. Now, before the coronavirus hit America, the disease ravaged Europe. A Montana man living just outside Madrid has been hunkered down for weeks. Matt Nelson and his family have lived in Spain for nearly 7 years. Nelson is a missionary with International Media Ministries and is still adjusting to how much things have changed in such a short time. He says when you greet someone, you normally give them 2 kisses. Obviously, that's not happening, and everyone's basically confined to their homes. Last week, the country began lifting restrictions, starting with letting kids spend an hour outdoors each day.
We really like being outside. Before this, we spent a lot of time outside riding our bikes, hiking around the trails that are around our town. And so this has been a difficult adjustment to be inside all the time.
Spain has had more than 200,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19, resulting in almost 25,000 deaths, one of the highest mortality rates per capita in the world. Well, more people have taken to the Billings Trail system in this past month. TrailNet says numbers are double compared to last year. Now, the city measured movement on the Kiwanis Trail near Two Moon Park and Mary Street. March saw about 6,200 people. Then, with a full month of stay-at-home orders in April, more than 10,000 came out compared to about 5,800 the April before. Well, the Billings TrailNet executive director says she expected more trail use but was surprised at the actual numbers. In Helena, local Boy Scouts have been forced to adjust their yearly fundraising project. Every year, the Scouts get together to make and sell picnic tables. However, with gatherings canceled, each kid is building a piece of a table by themselves.
I feel pretty lucky because I don't think most people will be able to build picnic tables by themselves with their dads.
It's important that we continue to do this because we need these funds to be able to continue to function as a troop. I think it's important that we are able to do that.
Sales will help fund the Scouts to go to Yellowstone National Park should it reopen this summer. Well, we have more ahead on your new news, including a look inside the powerful impact of St. Vincent de Paul on the homeless population during COVID-19. The time now is 12:08, but first, meteorologist Ed McIntosh is up next with a statewide weather forecast.
Weather forecast with meteorologist Ed McIntosh.
Welcome back to the noon news. Want to start off with this photo from Jerry Keith, and that is not snow that you see off into the horizon there from around Ekalaka yesterday. Hail. We had a lot of hail in southeastern Montana. Not only obviously quite a bit of it, but also some of those hailstones an inched up to about 1.75 inches size. But there was snow to talk about too. John Potter shared this picture from around the Red Lodge area this morning where they were seeing snow at times all across areas of south central Montana and the higher elevations and the mountain foothills. And it was plenty cold in western Montana as well. Now here's what's going on. We've got this deep low here. This trough will start to come in. A high pressure area starting to move into the Pacific Northwest. That'll nudge into our area. And the weather system from yesterday has shifted off towards the eastern portion of the Dakotas, over towards Minnesota, some of that up into Manitoba as well. So as the weather system exits the region, here's where we saw that rain and snow this morning in the mountains of south central Montana, even some lightning strikes through the central portion of Wyoming early in the day. And this trough is starting to settle in. So this is pulling in some cooler air. It's also producing a fair amount of wind, especially east of the divide, and drawing temperatures down to the mid-50s to mid-60s for this afternoon. Now watch the trough start to move away as we get into the afternoon. That's going to allow this high pressure area to start to move in from the west. Now, most of the state's still going to be under a northwesterly flow for tomorrow, so that's going to hold the temperatures in check. Fairly quiet weather picture for us on Tuesday afternoon. Temperatures will be around seasonal averages by later in the day, but once this system starts to shift across the region, Wednesday is going to bring the warmest temperatures of the week over into the central and eastern portions of the state, but weather becomes a lot more active as we start looking into areas of western Montana. Some higher elevation snow, some rain showers. It'll definitely draw the temperatures down about midweek and then keep it that way for a while. This morning, we started off with some really chilly readings. Central western Montana, 20s and 30s first thing in the morning. So anybody who got an early start on the garden really felt that moving in, but we've recovered nicely. Current temperatures are back up into the 40s and 50s here of this hour. And eastern Montana looking at a lot of 50s here for midday, 40s through portions of northern Wyoming. Right now, Sheridan, Wyoming, one of the cooler spots at 42. But the winds are also widespread across the region here as of midday. We see some of those stronger wind gusts to 40 miles an hour from Cut Bank to Great Falls to Havre, 35 miles an hour, and some wind down the east slopes of the Rockies and across the eastern plains as well. So temperatures today end up mid-50s to mid-60s, periods of wind across the eastern plains, but breaks of sunshine. Another chilly overnight, maybe not quite as cold for you in the western portion of the state, but chilly enough into the eastern plains that we should definitely keep in mind covering up any gardens that perhaps we got an early start on this season. So temperatures are going to be 50s and 60s today, mainly 60s to around 70 by the end of the day tomorrow, and generally fairly quiet. The breezy conditions from today making it feel a little cooler. Tomorrow we'll see a general warm-up region-wide. And then the temperatures start to warm up a little bit towards midweek, but that's also going to bring in some of those showers, especially in western Montana, and then push across the eastern plains. The warmest day of the week into the eastern plains looks to be Wednesday afternoon. 60s and even some low 70s possible. There's a look at the weather. Back to you, Janelle.
All right, thanks, Ed. Well, St. Vincent de Paul offers one of many community programs that continues to work with the homeless during the COVID-19 crisis. MTN's David J. shows us.
Golden Gable is homeless and works at St. Vincent de Paul.
I take temperatures, make sure the dining room is clean, make sure everybody has a pleasant experience. And if somebody gets out of hand, I step in. No physical contact, just ask them to leave.
Gable volunteered when workers who are at high risk could not come in because of COVID-19.
I've just been doing it since it started. I was cold outside and I just came inside because he said he wanted some help inside and I just stayed.
St. Vincent de Paul has been good for Gable.
I have really bad anxiety problems, and this is a safe place for me, so I can actually talk here. Like if I'm out on the street, I won't talk to anybody. I came in mostly because my counselors are here. It's a safe place, so I like to keep it a safe place. Everybody's always a calming experience.
He talked about the homeless population in Billings.
There's the mental health homeless. There's a bunch of individuals that will not talk to anybody at all. There's people that like to go around and help each other.
To see volunteers on the inside who are homeless that are willing to help, is that any kind of inspiration for you?
Yes, they're we're out here struggling and everything, but they still have a heart where they want to still help,
Yeah, it does that, at least they're willing to help out. We all help each other out here when we can. We stick together in groups.
The more responsibility I have, the more humble I get, I think. I've learned that it's not all about me. It's the funnest time I've ever had in my life in a long time.
Had COVID not happened, we never would have known that the friends that we served were capable or wanted to step up and help in that way. Remember, these are folks that are working for no wages, just to be a part of this and to help their brothers and sisters. It's beautiful.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
And Barthel says he expects St. Vincent de Paul to continue with homeless volunteers even after the crisis. Well, your latest ag news is coming up next with Russell Nimitz. Stay with us.
Ranch Report from the Montana Ag Network.
Hi everybody, it's time for your Farm and Ranch News. Well, today we have some very exciting news to share regarding ag education here in Montana. That's because Chinook native Eric Tillman has been named to head the Montana Ag Education Program at the Office of Public Instruction. Now, in leading Montana's high school ag education effort, he told me he'll be responsible for helping high schools near and far that want to start or even grow ag education and FFA programs.
It's going to be a fun challenge to keep up with the demands, because ag education, as you know, from when we were in high school, has changed. That agriculture isn't just cows, plows, and sows anymore. Agriculture is kind of really diverse, and we need to hit that market and kind of tell people that ag education isn't just production agriculture. There are so many other facets to it that need to be part of ag education.
Now, Eric takes over from Shannon Boswell, who was recently promoted to the interim division manager for all career and technical education at OPI. And for the past 16 years, Eric has taught agricultural education at Cascade High School, home to one of the most successful ag education and FFA programs in the entire state. So we want to wish our friend Eric Tillman the best of luck in his new position. Well, stay with us, friends. We'll have more ag news right after this. Well, farmers who are interested in growing pulse crops now have an opportunity to learn more through a brand new podcast series titled Growing Pulse Crops. The series will follow pulse crop farmers through the growing season and even dive into the research that's helping them through some of today's challenges. They'll also feature other industry stakeholders along the way. Now, to receive the podcast on a cell phone, subscribe to the series through Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or of course any other podcatcher app. And farmers can also learn more about the new podcast by visiting growingpulsecrops.com. And they tell us new episodes will be released bi-weekly, with a total of 13 episodes being released this season alone. In some other news, damage to our U.S. meat industry continues to pile up fast, from closed processing plants to producers with nowhere to send livestock to retail customers paying higher prices. CoBank market analyst Will Sawyer says that producer losses are topping anything seen in years. And while helpful to some, recent government relief, including that $19 billion that USDA recently announced, won't help a lot of folks.
Unfortunately, very little of that money will go to help alleviate the losses of livestock producers due to the caps of $125,000 per commodity per entity. Many of the producers that we all know are well outside of that range and well too large for that to make too much of a difference.
As we've reported in previous reports, this has led to more than 150 congressional lawmakers writing to the Trump administration to find a better formula and, of course, more money to meet the scale of losses which continue to mount every single day that this COVID-19 national emergency continues. Well, that's a look at your Farm and Ranch News. Have a great day.
Thanks so much, Russell. Ed McIntosh here for one more look at the weather out there. It's pretty darn nice out there today.
Yeah, it's a lot quieter than it was 24 hours ago, and the temperatures today are typical for this time of the year. The downside is today, eastern Montana in particular being hit with the strong winds. We had some really chilly temperatures in central and western Montana this morning, and a lot of 30s first thing tomorrow. So again, maybe you were tempted by the warm temperatures we've had recently and you got a little early start on the vegetable or the flower gardens. Make sure that you're mindful. Tonight might be a good time to cover things up. Central and western Montana start to be affected by stronger storms as we get into Wednesday. That's going to push across eastern Montana into the Dakotas Wednesday into Thursday.